Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Entrepreneurship Matters, a conversation that we've been having for 34 weeks with two entrepreneurs. What we know is that successful entrepreneurs are not built in a day. It takes undiluted passion, multiple failures, lots of grit, and a long-term commitment. We started this over 34 weeks ago at the urging of an amazing young person from our community, Camry Moses, who thought people might be inspired by hearing from business owners about their journey. And she was right. She's a business owner herself. I know she's watching. She has KRS Smoothies, so follow her on Instagram. But today is no different. Today we are talking about teeth and dentistry. And I'm so pleased that I have my dentist on. So let me invite Dr. Tanner and Dr. Patrick forward. And I'm going to give you their bios. And we're going to launch right into this conversation and really sink our teeth into it. So I'm going to have a lot of teeth and dentistry jokes throughout this, but this is going to be a great conversation. So let me give their bios, which are a number of pages, everybody. They are accomplished women doing their thing. And so this is really going to be fun. Dr. Tanner graduated from Swarthmore College in biology. I'm not going to give the year. She then graduated from the University of Maryland School of Dentistry. She's been in private practice as dentist since her graduation to the present, so 1989 to the present. Her previous work includes working with Smile America Mobile Dentists in the school program, an opportunity to provide dental care for students in public schools. Dr. Tanner has been a board member of the Baltimore Outreach Services Homeless Shelter since 2019. She's been the Jack and Jill of America Associates President. And in 2021, she's become a board member of CCHA, a network volunteer leader for Thread, and a Johns Hopkins University parent ambassador. As I said, she's also my dentist. So when you look at my white teeth, it's because of Dr. Tanner. My mom and my dad had a lot to do with it, but Dr. Tanner. So welcome, Dr. Tanner.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And we also have Dr. Patrick of U Street Family Dentistry. She hails from the Windy City of Chicago. She graduated from Spelman College. She's a Spelman Knight. I know we have a lot of shout outs for that on here. We love Spelman grads. And later earned her Doctor of Dental Surgery degree from the University of Maryland, Baltimore College of Dental Surgery. Her interest in dentistry has always been rooted, I love that, in the community, serving as the SNDA president, community service chair, and helping to establish the first Baltimore oral cancer wall. For these endeavors, she's been recognized and awarded the Dean Community Service Award, the Curtis Adams Award, and nationally recognized as the Albert Schweitzer Fellowship. She's volunteered in countries like the Dominican Republic, Nigeria, Guatemala, and Senegal, bringing oral health to those without regular access to dentists. After working in the nonprofit sector, Dr. Patrick opened U Street Family Dentistry in Washington, D.C. It's an eco-friendly office. We're going to hear about that. What's that mean in the dentistry? And really has, and that is in the U Street, DuPont, Adams Morgan neighborhood. She's a strong believer in education and continually fortifies and develops her cosmetic and restorative dentistry skills by completing extensive continuing education. Let me just say, it is a pleasure to be with both of you. When we said we were having a session on dentistry, you two rose to the top of the list of all dentists. All dentists are amazing. I know you all have your own dentist, but you two rose to the top of the list. So it's really exciting to get to speak to you today. Because I know this conversation is going to take us everywhere. Let me tell folks how they can get in on the conversation. You can put your questions in the chat. You may also put them on Facebook, where many of you are watching. Put them in the chat. I'll get them here in the Zoom room. You may also, if you're in Zoom, put them, you can also text them if you're listening on the phone or you're in any of those mediums by typing 22333 and type JHUWL in the message. I'll receive all of those messages, and I'll make sure they get into the conversation. Also, you can give them shout outs throughout the show. So put your kudos in, and I'll make sure they get that love too. But let's get started. What inspired you both to go into dentistry? And what inspired you to, in many ways, go into private dentistry? Because you could have gone many different ways. So why don't I start with Dr. Tanner and then Dr. Patrick?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I have always, as a child, loved teeth. I've always paid attention to people's smiles, and I was always a science geeky kid. And so I always knew that I wanted to go into some form of medicine, but I also knew that one day I really wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to focus on having a balance of a family life and a career. And I thought dentistry was the way to go. And so that's probably what inspired me, paying attention to people's teeth when I was a kid.
Oh, wow. So everybody talks about these like childhood moments that really made it all. How about you, Dr. Patrick? What got you into dentistry and into private dentistry in particular?
Yeah, very similar to Dr. Tanner. I was always interested in teeth. I wanted to become a dentist ever since middle school. Just always fascinated by people's smiles, what made their smile brighter. And I think that smiles are the key to confidence. So that's really what brought me into the field. And I've been obsessed ever since. Yeah. Yeah.
So you all gave an amazing a love of teeth, and teeth are, I mean, that's the first thing you notice about folks. What has taken you on your journey? So I gave the summary of your background and how you've gotten there. I did not do it justice. So can you talk about going from being a kid, loving teeth, observing teeth, and then now into business as businesswomen? So why don't I start with you, Dr. Patrick?
Yeah, good question. So I started out loving being obsessed with teeth from a young age. I went on to Spelman College, where I was pre-dental. So some people have this thought that people want to be interested in medicine and then they get into dentistry. But for me, it's always been dentistry. So I started out as pre-dental, did a lot of volunteering work. Then I moved on to University of Maryland, and again, was just really involved in the field. Always thought that I was going to do community dentistry. So that's what really my focus was increasing access to care, serving the underserved. And so I worked with a lot of nonprofits in DC, and I enjoyed my experience, but I felt as though the bulk of my day was about seeing a lot of patients versus like quality care. Not to say it can't be done, but I felt as though I wasn't giving my patients really the time and the energy that they needed. And I felt like a lot of my appointments were short, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I really didn't feel like I was able to connect with my patients as well. So I really didn't set out to start my own practice. I really just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And so that's really what landed me here at this office, was just trying to do something different.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think your journey of telling folks, you set out to be, fulfill a need, right? You wanted to serve people, and you realized, which I think is a really great reflection, that you weren't serving people in the way you wanted to serve them. And you chose a path that allowed for you to render the service that you ultimately thought people deserve. So, I mean, I think that's beautiful part of beautiful journey. How about you, Dr. Tanner? How did you, loving kids? I mean, y'all are special children, because I like teeth. I don't know if I love teeth. So how did you go from loving teeth as a child to going into private practice?
So I went to college and I studied biology, and I got into dental school. And initially, I've always been interested in children. I, at one point, thought about becoming a pediatric dentist. And I decided, I want to get out there in private practice and work a while and see what I really like. And I really enjoyed working in private practice. I worked at a practice for 20 years in Glen Burnie, and I enjoyed the facets that were Crown and Bridge, dealing with teenagers, dealing with children, dealing with older folks. I enjoyed seeing all types of people. And I feel that as time has gone on in those 20 years, I was more attracted to community dentistry as time went on. And so I found myself working for a company called Mobile Dentistry, which we go into city schools in Prince George's County and in Baltimore City, and we provide dental care for children in schools. And I felt like that was something that was really needed. And so for about 15 years, I did that on a part-time basis in addition to practicing privately.
Mm-hmm. So as we dig a little deeper into the teeth, I'm trying to have jokes and I'm going to try to get my jokes right on this one. But let's try to take a bite out of this. We're getting a lot of questions in the chat. Of course, I encouraged everyone to put questions in the chat. Didn't realize we'd get so many on. So I'm a little intimidated by the amount of people that you all have on that are asking questions, but we will get to all the questions, I promise. Couple of things that folks have asked already in this, and maybe we'll just start right here about COVID, right? You all are in an industry where you're serving folks during COVID. You didn't stop. You did stop for a minute. So why don't we talk a little bit about how COVID has impacted your businesses? And why don't I start with Dr. Tanner and then Dr. Patrick?
Okay, I can say that with dentistry, we're always exposed to people's blood and saliva. So we have always been attuned to wiping every surface down. We've always made sure that we protected ourselves against hepatitis B and just making sure that we use barrier protection and that we try to cut down any transmission between patient and doctor and staff. So I think dentistry as a profession was always on top of that. My story is a little different with COVID. So the office that I worked in, which I work now, we closed in March for COVID. And I thought that we were going to open up again, probably in June. And what happened, my story is that I left Glen Burnie. This was another question that someone asked about homework balance. I worked in Glen
You're about to take
Burnie.
my job. You're looking in the chat. Had the chat off for them. No, go ahead.
I worked in Glen Burnie for 20 years. I have 2 children. And when the youngest one started to excel in sports, I realized I want to be at every single game. And so after 20 years and a large patient population, I knew that I had to leave because being a mother was super important to me. And so I started working in a practice in Baltimore City that would allow me to go to all of my daughter's games. Mm-hmm. And so I started working in this wonderful practice in Highlandtown, Brewers Hill area. And I was the only dentist here. The person that owned the practice had an injury and couldn't practice anymore. And so I was the only dentist here and COVID hit. Mm-hmm. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. Before COVID hit, the owner asked me if I would buy this practice, and I agreed to. And we spent about 6 months with accountants and all trying to make the deal happen. And I just woke up one day and I realized that owning this practice wasn't actually going to make me happy. I had a daughter that was about to graduate from Hopkins, and I had a daughter that was a freshman at Hopkins. And I realized that owning this practice wasn't going to make me happy. So after about 6 or 7 months, I backed out of the deal. And I was in uncharted waters. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know whether the owner was going to close the practice and my job would be gone, but I had to go with my gut. And my gut was, I wasn't going to own the practice. I was in my mid-50s and I really wanted to have a good work balance. And so COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And so we closed in March. And I thought we would open up in June. But what happened is the practice was sold. And so I went 8 months at home doing teledentistry, talking to people on the phone for this practice. And we did not reopen again until November.
Wow.
It was a major challenge. We opened in November and we had the gates opening and 8 months worth of patients wanting to get in here. And we're trying to social distance and schedule with enough time apart and add more filtration devices. So it was definitely challenging. The victory of it is that it was successful. We opened in November, the old patients came back, the new patients are here, and COVID is a challenge. We're taking every precaution, and so far we're successful.
Excellent. That is a beautiful story. I mean, beautiful arc to the story, the hills and valleys. Excellent, excellent. How about you, Dr. Patrick? How have you coped? I know I waited 8 months for my appointment, but it was well worth it. How about you, Dr. Patrick? How have you coped during COVID?
Oh, for me, it was definitely a journey. So just like Dr. Tanner said, we closed in March, and I think we all thought that we were going to be back in like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, we don't know what this thing is going on. I think we were open until maybe like March 15th, March 17th. We were probably one of the last practices in the area to close. And we all thought, oh, we'll be back. But once we got home, we all got really comfortable. And, we started living the quarantine life. And so I think a lot of my staff who were initially interested in coming back, like, when are we reopening? Once we set the date of, mid-May, they were all like, oh, I don't know, so I ended up losing a lot of staff members, people who I had just trained, for their position. And a lot of them were scared to come back, rightfully so. I still have one dental assistant who still hasn't come back after a year. So it was definitely a big adjustment because we're entering this, crazy era. And then we don't even have staff, so who's retraining front desk, retraining dental assistants. So it was definitely a challenging time. And at one point I was like, I should just stay home, but we got through it, and we're pretty much back to normal now. We actually added additional staff, and we've come up with different solutions. We've staggered ourselves. So like today on a Thursday, I usually work a half a day, and then my associate actually comes after me. And so we have kind of like two different shifts of staff now. So we've kind of still see around the same amount of patients, but it's more of us, and we work different times. So that's kind of how we've handled it now. But definitely a big adjustment, finding team members and finding people who want to work. And then the patients themselves, so much was going on. They would send emails about infections and abscesses in their gums, and they were just honestly getting worse. And you wouldn't think so in 2 or 3 months, but we see some of those patients now, they haven't been back in, in a year, and they're not in the best state, so definitely important, even during this time, during COVID, to go and see your dentist, definitely.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think both bring up amazing points of just how necessary you all are in this life, right? So, you have to go see your dentist, and how really the shutdown did impact both of you. I mean, one thing I would say of but hearing both of your stories, like the fact that you're back at it, like that's a huge accomplishment. But wanting to hear from you, because we've gotten this question a couple of times, in what has been your greatest achievement? People are very proud of you. You can tell from the comments. I'm going to give you all your flowers at the end, but what has been your greatest accomplishment thus far as women in dentistry? So Dr. Patrick, what's yours? And then Dr. Tanner?
Oh, that's a tough one. Ooh. I would say we're celebrating our 3rd year of being open and in practice. Thank you. This year.
Huge deal. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. And I would say a lot of things don't mean that much to me, but when my son, who's usually uninterested, he's 9, and he's like, whatever. When he told me that I just got top dentist in Washington, D.C., and he said, oh, I saw there was a magazine, and I looked at it, and Mommy, you're a top dentist. And then he started asking me questions and taking interest. So, Mommy, how many people did you see today? What did you do? And when he actually took interest in what I did, I was really excited. So I was like, oh, wow.
He's like, I'm living with a
"Oh,
superstar. I better figure out I'm living with a superstar. I
yes,
understand.
I would say being recognized by my son and he's actually taking some interest in me. It's a great achievement for me.
That's a huge deal. I mean, when the family knows, that's a big accomplishment. Seriously.
He usually ignores me.
He's not anymore. You have newspapers. He probably took that magazine to school. How about you, Dr. Taylor? What would you say has been your greatest accomplishment thus far?
My greatest accomplishment, I think, is the patients following me from Anne Arundel County, practicing there for 20 years. And I don't know whether people know this, but people in Anne Arundel County like to stay in Anne Arundel County. They don't like to come to Baltimore. And so I always tell my patients, and I always try to practice, I try to treat all of my patients the way I want to be treated and the way I want my parents to be treated. And after 20 years, when I decided that I was leaving a practice I loved and coming to Baltimore for my family, I was shocked at how many patients followed me. And this is my third practice in 31 years. And almost all of them have still followed me, and they come to Baltimore City and they have to find a parking space and they have to pay a meter, but they're coming. And to me, that is just something I consider an accomplishment.
No, it's a huge, I mean, that it is. And you can tell both of you just have good spirits. I mean, every time I go to Dr. Tan, I'm always like, can you check me out? Make sure everything's okay. And I know you do the same thing, Dr. Patrick, making sure we'll have it, lymph nodes are okay. That level of care, asking about our family, the whole family's coming. I think that's really, really a great achievement for both of you. One question that we've received thus far, which I want to make sure I get to, what do you, we have a number of people who are, someone texted this in. We've really had to think, people have been thinking about telemedicine, but what do you recommend? You talked about those folks who have been your patients and COVID, it scared them a little bit. They didn't want to come in and open their mouths, expose themselves. What recommendations do you have if they have not been going every year to get their checkups, or every 6 months to get their cleanings? Like, how do you, there's probably some shame associated with that, I'm guessing. They don't want to come in. So what recommendations do them? What advice do you have to folks to get back and get started? Dr. Patrick and then Dr. Tanner?
I would say first, research your dentist, and check out the environment. I try not to be too judgy to my patients, and see, if there's a vibe, because it's not only about, you picking your dentist, we pick you as well, and it has to work together. So I think if you have that dynamic, I don't think your dentist is going to judge you, and honesty is important. We all have those patients who tell us, oh, I floss twice a day, I brush twice a day, and that doesn't go well. Be honest, I haven't been.
When we haven't done that, right?
Right. Be honest,
You're not fooling anybody.
I haven't been at my best right now. And I think I appreciate that when patients tell me that. I've been slipping, what are some recommendations? And I respond really well to that, because I really appreciate honesty. So I'm like, it happens to the best of us, it's okay. We can jump back on there. And just, I think it's just a connection that you have to have with your dentist. But even though it's a scary place, I think most dentists, we're really not that judgmental though. So jump on back in there, get in there.
That's right. How about you, Dr. Tanner?
So I try to stress to all of my patients that the health of your mouth is connected to the rest of your body. And so if you are going to your physician and you're taking medication, don't forget about making sure that your mouth is also healthy. And with COVID, a lot of people, including myself, we were couch potatoes and we ate all kinds of snacks, and maybe we didn't floss as much as we did before. And so when patients are coming in, and I try to stress, you're here now, we're going to get this straight. You know, you're going to have some cavities, that's okay, but we can take care of it. But just, I really want people to realize that oftentimes we're able to diagnose that there's something medically going wrong with people based on the condition of their gums and their teeth and any changes and dry mouth, and that your mouth is connected to your body, and we want to keep them both healthy. And we need to work with your doctor, and you need to, you know, keep an index card in your wallet that has all the medications you're taking and know what they do and how you're supposed to take them. And we want your whole body to be healthy.
Yeah. We have a number of people, they jumped onto this question, which, you know, what someone asked, why do you think people need to, you know, don't tell you all that they want to tell you about their mouths, but how some folks have said in the comments, you know, they've had dentists that have been judgmental, but how you both talked about building the connection with your dentist. How would you recommend people go about doing that? What things would you tell them to do?
Well, I try to tell people, you know, I'm happy that you're here. I'm here to provide a service for you. Yes, you have cavities. Yes, you have problems, but I'm here to make them better for you. And we're going to work together to make it good. And so even if you have a problem, it can be solved. We can find an alternative solution, but it's teamwork. It's what I do in the office and what you do at home. And we can both make sure that your mouth is in better shape than it was when you walked in the door.
Dr. Patrick, what would you say? How do you?
Yeah, I would say that the conversation for me usually starts about them, about their life. It doesn't start with teeth. It starts with getting to know them as a person, talking to them. Where are you from? What type of music do you like to listen to? Usually when patients come in, we're watching Netflix or we're listening to movies, and that already sparks a conversation. And I think when patients are comfortable and they see you not as a dentist, but a person, oh, you have a kid, oh, you live down the street, you live in DC. When they get to know you, then they open up about their teeth. That's later on, you know, after everything is over, as they're walking out the door, that's when they say, oh, so hey, I have these questions about X, Y, and Z. What are your thoughts about it? And I think that's when the real relationship starts. But if you just sit back in the chair and you're quiet, you know, a real relationship isn't going to spark from that. But just getting to know them first. And I love my new patients when they come in, because I feel like it's new energy, new inspiration. I know most of my patients by names. You know, I greet them, I see them outside on the street. Getting to know them first, and then they'll feel comfortable talking to you about their teeth and their goals.
Absolutely. I mean, I talk a lot in the dentist chair. I know Dr. Tanner probably like, Alicia's talking the whole time. I can't clean her teeth, but I enjoy being with her. So that's why I talk so much. I know both of you probably have that same. You probably have learned to be able to understand what we say when we're talking through your cleaning. Let's go back to a question, and we have a number of young people watching today, and want to have you give them advice on things that you now have knowledge you have, but for them and their level. So knowing all that you know now, would you have done anything differently with the path of, what advice would you give to them as they're thinking about their careers, their business, their journey? What's the advice you would give to them? Dr. Patrick, Dr. Tanner?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say specifically for my women, I think women in business were thought of as a certain way. And I would say to be super confident in what you say. Don't go all around in a circle. Be very direct and straightforward. And I think that's a trait that sometimes we're not taught as women. But I think in terms of business, I think you go really far when you're very direct, when you're dealing with contractors, vendors, whoever it is. Be direct, straightforward. Always ask for more than what you're offered. I think that's with anything in life. but whatever you choose to do, have confidence in it, and be direct.
Excellent advice. Dr. Tanner, what would you say?
I would say do your homework. Do your homework ahead of time when you're starting a business, and realize that there are going to be lots of ups and downs. There are going to be lots of failures, but we learn from failures. And having a failure doesn't mean that your business isn't going to succeed. It means that it's just a lesson that is learned, and you can turn that into something positive. I also say, think differently about it. Follow your own path. Don't always follow what someone else has done. And when you've got a business, you have to realize that your staff, which is such a difficult thing to find good staff, you really are responsible for your staff succeeding. And so if you have a business, and yes, you want your business to be successful for yourself and your family, but you have other people's families that are relying on you also.
Absolutely. When you think about your journey, how have you navigated even sometimes, taking leaps in your practice? You both talked about going from a certain point in your career, taking a bunch of leaps. How have you dealt with, maybe feelings of intimidation, feelings of fear during those times? Received that question a couple of times in the chat. What's been your strategy for dealing with those feelings?
I would say I always remember what my number one priority is, and that's my family. And that with any type of conflict with staff or someone else, you have to remember that you are working to provide quality dental care, but you're also working to support your family. And so you have to navigate around conflicts and problems so that they don't take away from your family being successful.
Yeah, definitely a great point. I would say, so for me, when I'm dealing with challenges, it first starts with speaking things into existence. And so I always tell that to my staff, and they're like, how many times is she going to say this? Because I think you first have to say it out loud. You have to write it down. And then you have to make the solution to the problem. And that's a common theme that I have in the practice. Staff will have challenges about small things like who's going to do the laundry, who's going to clean the bathroom. And they'll come to me, and I'm like, I don't want to hear all of the drama and all the problems. I want you to write down for me what the solution is. So I think that's with everything in life. Whatever challenges you have, write the solution down, and now let's come up with, let's move forward, and so that's what I try to do. When I have a new obstacle in the office, I always write it down, and I tell my staff and I tell everybody around me, this is what we're doing in year 3. And they're like, okay, here she goes again.
No, it's really something to chew on, because many times we do know the solution, or we do know the outcome that we want. And writing down the solution, and then there's 15 different ways to get there, right? For every problem, there's 10 different solutions that could get us to get us there. Yeah, no, excellent. You just gave us something really good to chew on.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, I'm trying to get better at these jokes. You're gonna give me some.
I would also add to Dr. Patrick that, tomorrow is another day. And oftentimes things are better the next day. And also, when I have issues, sometimes it really helps to reach out to colleagues, other dentists in the area, other professionals that can really help alleviate whatever the problem is.
Absolutely. Now, you both talked about the circumstance of staff, right? And both of you talked about building staff. What is your process like in building a staff? You talked about, Dr. Patrick, COVID, everybody got comfortable. I did not realize there were some of y'all that would I don't know if I picked the right way, because y'all had like 8 months. So people got, you both talked about building staff, getting great people. to work with you. What's your process been like in building that staff that works within your business model?
I would say first, you have to have the right dynamic. You have to vibe with the person. So my partner, he's always talking about what's their sign. Oh, that's not going to go well with you, that person. I don't
You
know.
picking people based on signs?
No. I don't pick people based off of signs.
Oh,
But
okay.
he's always
I
like,
was like,
what's their sign? So I don't think it's a sign thing. I think it's a dynamic. So you first have to work with that person. Do they flow? Now, if they flow with you and you guys connect, now it's about building them. How do you build them? You build them by having a mutual interest. Your interest is building this office. What are their interests? Just like Dr. Tanner said, they have family, they have budgets, they have goals that they have. How does that go together? And that's really how you have to build them. Next, I think team meetings. I think that's really important. I like to have weekly staff meetings where we go over pluses and minuses so that those things everybody doesn't get things bottled up and that energy doesn't become negative. So I always have like a housekeeping. We go over it at the beginning. I put it at the beginning because I don't want us to talk too much about it and I want us to move forward. So I'll quickly name things. Okay, we need to clean this up. We need to do better at this, and then moving on. And so then the next part of the meeting is a training. We're training now. What things can we do better as a team? And so that's what I really like to create as a team dynamic, because there'll be times where my staff, some members have thrown things out, some members have lost things. But I think when they're a team, they cover for each other, which is bad as well. But I like it because it shows that they really look out for each other. I'll say, who threw this away? Everyone's, no one wants to name anything. They don't name anything, but
all of us threw it out, but none of us did, right?
We don't know. And even though it's bad, I like it because they really truly look out for each other. And we always know we're only as strong as the weakest link. And so we're always trying to develop and grow as a team. And I've worked at many other practices where, sterilization becomes I can't stand this person. And I don't like her. And, so I think it really, that energy comes from the top. And when you really show each member, you try to develop each team member and not make it seem as though, I like this one, but I don't like that. Your employees see that and they feel that. And so when you create a group dynamic and you build them up, that we're all a team. When one person does something bad, it affects all of us. I think that really spreads, that positive energy really spreads through the office.
Absolutely. How about you, Dr. Tanner? How are you picking your team?
So when the office reopened, everyone else besides myself that worked here decided not to come back. And so 2 people didn't come back because of COVID and they just didn't want to be in dentistry anymore. Someone retired and another person found another job. And so we're starting brand new. And I think the first thing we look for was positive energy. And second thing is to really care about the patients. How you treating a patient tells me sort of how you feel about yourself. And I think that I always tell my kids this: the positive energy you give out is what's going to come back to you. So people are mirroring your behavior. So if you're going to be upbeat and positive and care about folks and go the extra mile, then your staff is going to figure out that's what they need to do too, if it doesn't come naturally. And so I guess I'm a pretty patient person, but I find everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. And when you work with people over a period of time, you sort of learn to coexist. It's like everybody's a puzzle piece and together we make the puzzle. So someone's weakness may be, I don't like to assist extractions, and someone else's may be, I love to make temporaries. And so you learn to work together to figure out who does what best to make the puzzle fit.
Yes. Yeah, no, actually, one person's deficits, another person's strength. and it all makes sense on the team. I was talking about this today. I'm like, if you had a football team and everybody was a kicker, how many balls? Sometimes we gotta run that ball down the field. Sometimes we gotta, it's like you need the whole panoply of folks. Let me you said something, Dr. Tanner, that's going to lead me to my next question, which is you talked about what you give out and this positive energy, and then I heard a very wise woman, just quote Newton's law, third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So you breathing out joy, and that was Oprah. So we're going to get to my Oprah question, which is, Oprah watches every week. So glad she watches, along with Melody Hobson. We have Robert Smith on. We have folks watching, and they're wondering, posing this question, which is, how can we support more Dr. Tanners and Dr. Patricks? How can we ensure that we have more business women, more business owners of your sort, right? That are employing folks within our community, right? Having a real impact, making sure Alicia can smile as nice as this, everybody else. How can we support you? So what's the advice you give to them? How can they support businesses like yours and help them thrive and grow? Dr. Patrick, then Dr. Tanner, what would you say? This is chance to talk to Oprah. I mean, it's rare. Rare.
I would say first going to the offices, seeing how you can support them if you're in the same city or community, seeing how you can actually go and visit them. The next way I would say is supporting them on social media, on Instagram. I have family and friends who aren't here who send support through, hey, did you check out this? It's a great business resource. Have you seen this? That's a great way. Or just giving a shout out. That's always nice. Sometimes you support people just by lending an ear. Everyone can't actually come to your business sometimes, but they can support you by giving you a call. I've had patients who, have left DC, and sometimes just talking to them and hearing from them and saying, oh, it was so great when I came to your office. Sometimes that's just the energy and the positivity that you need if you're struggling, having a bad day. So just any type of support is great, but there's so many different ways though. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Dr. Tanner, what do you say?
So I want to give a shout out to the organization Thread, which has changed my life as I'm a mentor to high school students.
In the family?
Yes, I'm in a family. I would say just to be present with kids. And so with our work in Thread, we form families with high school students, and the students are normally kids at the end of ninth grade that are struggling. And we not only tutor them, we help them with social issues, we help them find jobs, we help them get into camps. We do everything. We become their family. We show up and we're present. And so if I wish I could have everybody in Baltimore City just mentor one kid. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's all you need for a kid to know that somebody cares. I think a lot of times you talk to teenagers and like, well, what do you want to do? There's so many careers and opportunities out here that kids don't know about. And so if we could expose kids to that, just taking an interest in a kid makes such a big difference. I have allowed some college kids to come and shadow at the office to see if they're really interested before they spend all that money on student loans. And also I've done some talks at high schools for Career Day. Of course, the first question the high schoolers want to know is how much money you make. But just to make sense.
What you make and what you drive, they always ask.
Right. Just showing up and being present and giving time to teenagers and middle schoolers and young kids. And Dr. Patrick and I, as she said earlier, we both do it in our practices when we're talking to teenagers and kids and asking them about themselves and their life.
Now, both of you, one, your comments just are like heartwarming and just speak volumes about who you are in the world and the impact you're having. And that, I gave you a chance to talk to Oprah, which is a amazing opportunity. We really do hope she's watching. But that you both talked about something other than yourselves, right? You talked about other businesses. You talked about the support that they could give to other businesses, the mentoring, right? And so let me lead into this question, which we got in the chat, which is, how have mentors impacted your career decisions? I know you had a love for being dentist, love for teeth that you talked about when being young, but I imagine that there's been a couple people that have poured into your cup at some point along the way. So can you talk a little bit about that, those mentors, and Dr. Patrick and then Dr. Tanner?
Ooh, I've had so many great mentors in my life, and I don't want to leave anybody out.
Don't start naming names. They start.
I would say that
getting them feelings. Don't do it.
Right.
Your
Don't want
success.
anybody to be
Your
their
big
feelings
success
like,
story. They don't want. Don't leave anybody out.
I would say that I'm happy to have great role models within my family. You know, my I don't come from any dentist in my family, but my mom and my dad are extremely hardworking. And I would say I learned just so many great habits from them of what you're supposed to do when you wake up, just how to be so productive. I got that from my mom and my dad. But I would say if I had to name one person, I don't know if he's on here, but I would say probably my biggest mentor was probably Euclid Williamson. He's from Chicago. He actually has a program that's called Target Hope. And he was amazing because I worked in his office in high school, and he saw something in me, and he saw my strengths and my weaknesses, and he would tell me about myself. And I thought it was just so hilarious because I was very quiet and reserved, and he would pull me aside and say, oh, that comes off as you're cynical and you're sarcastic. Don't be like that no more. And I'm like, really? That's how I look. So he would really tell me about myself, but he really helped me to get great scholarships for college, to just really explore the path to link me up with other dentists in the Chicago land community. And so I would say if I have to name one person, I would say he definitely poured so much energy into me, and he continues to do that. The program is still around, and he has helped thousands of teenagers in Chicago get to where they need to be in terms of college as well as finances, because if you don't have the money, how can you go to school? And he really shows you how to make that happen. And he was really responsible for helping me get the UNCF scholarship, as well as the Jackie Robinson, which helped me.
Wow, that's tuition. Huge.
Yeah, he's just
Jackie
such
Robinson,
a great mentor.
scholarship.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's so great. So great. Target Hope. Now you're gonna have to be sending him some money.
Google it.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm gonna write him a check because you live in that's a good organization. How about you, Dr. Tanner?
Definitely.
Well, I would say I am so proud that I went to Western High School in Baltimore City. You couldn't go to Western High School and think that you weren't going to succeed. I mean, the oldest all-female public school in America. You walked in those doors and then you knew that you were going to put your best foot forward, and you had a group of women that were supporting your every step. I would say also that when I was in college and I was interested in dentistry, that I called the Baltimore City Health Department and I asked them if they could help me intern with the dentist. And I don't remember her name, Dr. Betty. She was a dentist with the Baltimore City Health Department.
How old were you when you made this call?
Like, I guess 20 years old.
So a kid. I mean, you're a young woman, but
yes,
a young person. And
she set up such a wonderful internship for me. I spent the summer in 5 different dental offices. I was with Dr. Gwendolyn Dunn, who's an orthodontist in this area, and 3 other dentists. And I spent one day in the Baltimore City Dental Department on North Avenue. And all of those dentists, the experiences were totally different. They really, really were supportive. And I kept in contact with most of them for years afterwards.
Wow, wasn't that beautiful? Both of you, beautiful stories of mentorship. Really beautiful, beautiful. stories. We're getting so many questions and okay, we only have 10 minutes. But let me give you your shout outs. A lot of people said Dove Love. So you woohoo to the amazing Dr. Tanner. Kudos, Go Spellman. Kudos to Dr. Patrick. Folks loving your gems, just applauding you, giving you, saying yes. Now let's get this question. What would you, some people have fear of dentists. I've heard, and doctors, I've heard people have these fears. Do you have any advice for them? How to overcome those fears? And I'm not, I mean, I don't say people have those fears. I sometimes have a fear. Before I met Dr. Tanner, I used to have a fear of the dentist. And in the beginning, and you know what? It's really sensitive stuff in there.
Right.
What do you have for folks to overcome that fear? Like, I saw you about to jump on that point.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I would say, I always tell my staff that I try to practice what tell, show, do. So that's for peds, for pediatric patients, but I tell them that my adults are peds as well. And that's how I view them. And I think that you have a fear of something that you don't know. So before I do something, any procedure, I like to explain the procedure to the patient because they don't want to feel as though you're sneaking something on them last minute. And so I try to first introduce what we're doing. And then I try to show them. And obviously I won't show them a needle or something like that, but I'm showing them and explaining to them while we're doing it. And I'll show them different things sometimes that aren't needles and say, oh, don't worry, this may look like a needle, but in actuality, this is just the shampoo for the tooth. It's going to taste sour. This is the glue. And I think it really helps patients relax when you don't present them with any surprises. You know, even the sound of the air and the water, sometimes when it's sprayed, they're like, oh, where did that come from? So, you know, I just try to always explain things thoroughly and just help them relax. No surprises. I think when you eliminate surprises, people do so much better.
No, absolutely. How about you, Dr. Tanner? What would you
I
say?
agree with you so heartedly, Dr. Patrick, about no surprises and telling them what's going to happen. For some adults that are really, really fearful, I like to have them come in for just a consult where we can get to know each other and we can develop a level of trust between us before any procedures are done. Sometimes you're busy and you're checking hygiene patients and you have a new patient and they're fearful and, you know, sometimes 5 minutes isn't going to do it. We're not going to build a relationship in 5 minutes. So sometimes I'll have them come back when I have more time and we just sit and talk about what needs to be done before we do it. And that certainly has helped.
Yeah. Let me give you this question. We're going to do 2 questions quickly, and then because I want people to also know how they can get in contact with you to get their teeth all get something. So first, give us a word or two. What would you give, advice would you give to a person, young person pursuing a career in dentistry? What's like 1 or 2 tips you would give them? Dr. Patrick and then Dr. Tanner?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say that to me, dentistry is art. And if you're good with your hands, then you'll be good in dentistry. So I would say start taking some art classes, start taking sculpting. Because believe it or not, your first year in dental school, you actually take classes like waxing, and you're actually waxing up anatomy and carving out, you know, the shapes of teeth and things like that. So I think try to make sure that you're good with your hands, and that dexterity, it extends right into dentistry and, you know, holding your hand pieces and everything like that. So I would say develop some great hand skills first. What else? I would say make sure you're committed too, because make sure this is something that you want to do. Dentistry is not cheap. Everything that we use, all of our equipment is super expensive. Our schools are super expensive. So you don't want to come out of school and be like, do I want to do that? So just make sure that you're fully committed. Just like Dr. Tanner did when she was younger, you know, shadowing, going to different offices. You can't be something that you're lukewarm about. You have to be fully committed, because dentistry is hard. It's hard on your body. It's demanding. Our patients are demanding. So you have to be, this is not something that you just kind of like, you have to really love it.
Mm-hmm. What would you say, Dr. Tanner?
I would say communication, because you can be the best dental student with the best grades and great hands, but if you can't communicate with patients and you can't make them feel at ease, then you're not going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I would also want to throw in there financial literacy. Whatever business you're in, you've got to have a budget for your house, and a budget for your business, because student loans are sky high these days, and you've got to have a plan of how you're going to go to dental school or whatever business you decide you want to start, and how you're going to afford it and also live.
Yeah. So with this questions, this is my last question. Huge kudos for both of you for all of your work. Burnout's real, and people want to know, in times of great adversity, both professional and personal, what keeps you going? What's letting you come in there every day? What's getting you past it? And maybe a word of encouragement for folks. Dr. Tanner, then Dr. Patrick.
So yeah, dentistry is a stressful occupation. It really is. You're dealing with people in pain. You're dealing with people that are fearful. You're dealing with people that don't value the quality of your work. They want everything to be free or $10. So it is stressful.
Right.
I think the thing that gets me to work is that I know that I'm providing quality dentistry, and that I am helping someone become healthier than they were before. So I think that's what really makes me come to work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What would you say, Dr. Patrick? What's getting times of great adversity? What keeps you going?
I would say two things. I think my patients themselves keep me going. Like during COVID, I was like, oh, do I want to come back? Oh my goodness. And then just talking to some of my patients, even by email, and remembering how much fun that we had and how much fun we do have. That's what I was like, oh, well, I kind of do miss them, so let me come back. I would say my patients, because they share so much with us. We're almost like counselors, when they're in our chair. They tell us we got to check on their kids. We have to check on their latest hobbies, what shows they're watching on TV. So we keep abreast about everything. So first, my patients. And then second, I would say you have to have something beyond dentistry, because it can be overwhelming. What do you do outside the office? Whether it be exercise, dance. I like to do things, to exert that energy. And, sometimes we're all bottled up, go take a walk, go to take a dance class, go do some Zumba at home, whatever it is, that really helps to relieve that energy. Because it can't just be dentistry. It really can't. You have to have something else outside to balance you and to relieve that stress.
Excellent. Excellent. Both of you, it has been a pleasure to interview both of you. You're inspiring women. We just are wishing you all of the best success and more clients. So I'm gonna tell you,
Yes.
I want both of you to tell us, how can folks get in contact with you, become your patients? People fell in love with you on here and thinking about getting their teeth cleaned. How can they get in contact with you, Dr. Patrick? What's your address? How can they book with you? Tell them all those things.
Oh yeah, definitely stop by if you're in the DC area. Our Instagram is U Street Family Dentistry. Our website is ustreetfamilydentistry.com or U Street Dental. You can book your appointment right there on the website, or give us a call. My front desk, they're all really, really friendly and happy, and they'll make you feel at home.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Tanner, how can we get in contact with you? I got to get my appointment in before they come.
Yes. You can reach us at highlandtowndentalgroup.com. We are on Eastern Avenue across from the Chicken Rico, and we are at 3715 Eastern Avenue. Our phone number is 410-386-8255. 327-5488. And you can call here 24 hours a day and we will get back in contact with you. We'd love to see you.
Excellent. Again, thank you both. Let me give a couple
thank
of announcements and then we're going to wrap it up. So next week we are returning on April 1st. That's not April Fool's Day. That's April Sunshine Day.
That's my birthday.
Oh,
Happy
really?
birthday!
Oh,
Happy birthday,
good
Dr.
day.
Patrick.
Good. See, I said it was April Sunshine Day, not April
It
Fool's
is.
Day. See? Yep. We'll be returning at 1 o'clock with two amazing entrepreneurs. You do not want to miss it. Follow us on JH Connects on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Email us feedback, jhconnects@jhu.edu. Again, jhconnects@jhu.edu. Feel free to give us other businesses you'd like to see featured. Thank you to our community partners, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, Hopkins Local, the Mayor's Office of Small Minority and Women-Owned Business, the Warnock Foundation, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business, and Bloomberg Philanthropy. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Patrick. Thank you, Dr. Tanner. We really
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Great
It's
talking
nice
to
talking with you
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.